Good evening, Commanders, and welcome back to Algoram AM. I am your host, Commander IFlippaDaSwitch, and this is your one-stop shop for all your news when it comes to Sidewinder Syndicate, the Algorab system, Forbes Terminal, Elite Dangerous, and everything under the sun. So this week marks a very momentous occasion. It is, of course, the holidays, and as such, you know, us commanders, we like to get out there and have ourselves a good time, share the spirit of the season, and make sure that we're, you know, really lifting each other's spirits. And in that vein, Sidewinder Syndicate, along with many others across the game, have organized the enthusiastic Colonia Christmas Expedition. Over 50 commanders were there at launch. More have joined since the expedition's actual mass jump launch. And let me tell you, it's been very interesting. A lot of really cool stuff happening. A lot of really cool events being organized, and newer commanders being, you know, kind of shown the ropes when it comes to exploration and black, but also with the intent of, you know, taking some rare goods out to Colonia to, you know, to spread some Christmas cheer. So it's been really cool. I will make sure to put the appropriate links for, the launch video, which was very well put together, and I mean, almost Attenborough-ly narrated by one Commander Phil P. And also, you know, any other relevant information down there. So definitely check that out if you are curious. You could probably find them somewhere on the way out to Colonia. Definitely meet them there before Christmas. So if you're interested, I definitely suggest hitting those guys up. So with that, we're going to be going into yet another rousing rendition of the last time I got lost in space. And a little segment that I like to call Switch in Space. Okay, Jenny, very funny. I know what's next. Self-destruct activated. Can we just skip that part?
My senses show that you are in a state of disbelief and denial. I assure you, Commander, I am neither joking with you nor wrong about the date. It is 3305.
Come on, that's not possible. You're talking about time travel here. Hey, whoa, what gives? I didn't tell you to jump.
Affirmative, Commander. You did not authorize a jump, but I seem not to have control over the FSD systems at the moment.
What do you mean you don't have control? You're the chip. How do you not have control of you?
Unknown.
Can you at least tell me where we're going?
Negative.
If I'd known I'd get stuck with a glitchy Kovas, I never would have borrowed this frickin' crappy hunk of junk. Whoever designed you must have had a few loose screws.
I assure you, Commander, I am operating at optimal levels. I am not glitchy. My sensors show a mega ship-class vessel directly ahead of us. Unless, of course, you think that is a glitch too.
No, Jenny. You're right, I can see it. And don't sass me right now, please.
Warning, the mega ship is scanning us and has deployed hard points. I advise caution.
It's a human ship, isn't it? We deal with megaships all the time back in Algorab. This one's no different. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one quite like that, but I'm sure they'll be happy to help us.
Incoming transmission from the vessel.
Is this thing on? Okay, yeah. Attention, unidentified vessel. This is the generation ship Odysseus. You have entered our airspace and are warned that any aggressive action will be met with lethal force. Identify yourselves immediately or we will open fire. Was that official sounding enough?
The Odysseus? Where have I heard that name before?
The generation ship Odysseus, a pre-FSD vessel launched in the year 2097. classified as one of the missing in the year 3010.
No, that's not possible. We have to tell them who we are.
The comms array is not functioning. We can only receive. Warning. The megaship is powering its weapons, diverting full power to shields.
No, wait. We're not hostile. Why the hell are they shooting at us?
We have taken damage. I advise evasive maneuvers.
Nah, I figured we'd let them blow us to dust. Seems like everything else in the verse wants to murder me. Why not them too?
We are taking damage to the main power plant. Sustained damage could result in core detonation.
Great. Now we're a flying bomb as well as target practice. This day just gets better and better.
Commander, I advise flying away from the ship trying to kill you.
No, I need to get closer. If it's really a generation ship, and really the Odysseus, then the name will be on the ship. I refuse to believe that you are a frickin' time machine. Holy crap. It really is the Odysseus. This really is 2097. Then you really are a time machine. I'm not just lost in space. Oh God, I'm lost in time. All right. And yet again, another fantastic retelling of one of my greatest, most accidental. It was an accident. It was not purposeful. Times I got lost just out there. Oh, Jenny. Oh, the times we had. Such good times. But on the vein of being lost and kind of needing a helping hand, my guest for this week actually kind of happened by accident, and because of that, well, things turned out pretty cool, actually. I was recently out in the black, checking some things out, and took a bit of a hard landing, and because of that, I was pretty banged up. And I decided to reach out to an organization I didn't know much about, the Hull Seals, and they sent a commander out to me, one Commander TwoToneGray. And let me tell you, we got to know each other pretty well, and after a very lengthy rescue, I had him show up in his Corvette, and he helped me out, fixed my hull, gave me some tips, just kind of, talked for a little bit just to keep me company, and then he bounced on out. And because of that, I decided to reach out to him to have an interview because, one, I think what organizations like the Hull Seals and the Fuel Rats do is amazing, but also because I just kind of wanted to say thanks because, services like this, they're all on a volunteer basis. And because of that, I didn't have to pay him. The guy ran his fleet carrier dry to come get me. So we're going to transition now into my interview with Commander TwoToneGray, and it's a pretty good one. So here we go. All right, and here we are with our interview segment for this episode with a unlikely but very grateful friendship that I developed over the course of what we'll call a protracted rescue operation. But I would like to introduce Commander TwoToneGray, our resident Hull Seal guest. How are you doing today, Two-Tone?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking. It was one heck of a trip, man.
Yeah, there was. You were at one point over 200 jumps away from me. If I'm not mistaken, I lost the IRC chat after I closed out and everything. But you you traveled a pretty good clip. You ran your carrier on E to come out and get me, and I feel beholden to drop you a couple tons of tritium at some point.
No, you're all right. That's what we whole seals are for, man. We go out, we help people, and we bring them home, or let them go on their way if they so choose. But that's what we do. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, it was funny. So for the listeners out there, quick bit of backstory. Over the holidays, I have decided to go on a bit of what I call my holiday vision quest, which is I just wanted to kind of get lost in the black for a little while. Didn't want to worry too much about what's going on in the bubble. The war between the Empire and the Federation doesn't really concern me right now. And so I was out there, and I decided stopping for the night, I would land on a planet. And I'm doing this trip in an engineered Anaconda, and I decided that I would take that out. And I hadn't landed a ship that large on a planet before. It dawned on me after this was all said and done. I was like, I've never tried to make planetfall on a ship this big. I mean, I have to engineers and different stations and stuff, but never just like a planetary landing, because I could always let the docking computer take care of it, after I get within 7.5 meters or kilometers. And yeah, so I bounced pretty hard, to say the least. Messed up my hull good and proper. If I didn't have shields on, I probably would have just exploded, and I would have been very sad. And so when I was getting ready to leave, I was like, well, I need some help, and because I didn't want to stop at a station, and I was like, you know what? Everybody keeps talking about the fuel rats. I've heard about the hull seals. I'm going to put out a call to the hull seals. So I put the call out. I would, for one, and here's something that I will give y'all a lot of credit for, Two-Tone, is I had someone on the line within minutes, and they were like, "Hey man, are you good? Is it a canopy breach? Da da da. Like how? What is the severity? Like it was very much like 911. What is your emergency?" And I was like, "Oh man." So I let them know, like, "Hey, no hull breach, anything like that. I'm just low on hull, trying to get this trip out in the black going and everything. Had a bit of a stumble. Could use some help." So they got someone on the line, which happened to be yourself, and then you made the trek all the way out to me for granted, and we were talking in IRC chat and having a good conversation there. But yeah, you came all the way out there, and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" You gave me the hand wave from the cockpit, which I appreciated, and then you hit me with some limpets and set me on my way. And yeah, that was it was really cool, because I was like, man, this dude came all the way out here as a volunteer. Like you're not even being paid in materials, let alone like actual money or whatever. But you're like, all right, well, I got some time. I'm gonna go save this doofus that couldn't land his Anaconda. And then yeah, and then it all panned out. So I tip my hat to you, sir. You are a merit to your organization.
Ever since I came back from basic, I've always wanted to help people more, and be that helpful hand that everybody can receive some help from. So the whole seals, as soon as I'd been in the seals, like the seals chat before then, I was just hanging out with some friends, but ever since I came back, I've been really contemplating about joining the seals. And as soon as I joined the SEALs, immediately I got a call. And
First day in the job,
I decided I'm gonna use first couple minutes on the job actually. And I decided, hey, why don't I use a federal Corvette for everything sealing? And then yesterday rolls around, and I get this call with somebody 3,000 light years out. And I'm calling around to all my friends. I'm like, hey, can any SEAL handle this? Is anybody online? And nobody's answering. I'm like, you know what? I got this. So I spooled up Shangri-La, which is my carrier, and I checked the fuel. I was like, so that's how it's gonna be. So I jumped her to the first neutron star and started hauling my Corvette all the way over to you. It took me, oh shoot, before the neutron star jumps, I think it was 262 odd or 162. I can't remember.
Yeah. It was a good amount. It's definitely nothing to sneeze at, man. When you start getting into the triple digits on number of jumps, you're just like, oh man, like, I mean, I'm going through it right now. I'm just trying to make it to a really cool system that a buddy told me about, and I'm still sitting at 130 something jumps, and I'm still trying to scan planets on the way there and stuff. And it takes some time. Like exploration is not something to sneeze at. So by all means, man, like you You covered the distance. You went the distance, young Hercules.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you guys out there with your cutters, or not your cutters, but your condas, and I'm sure there's a few cutters, and your DBXs. You guys are the mad lads. You spend all your day looking at stars and scanners, while I'm out either blasting pirates to keep seals safe, or otherwise repairing people. I mean, hats off to you guys for doing what you do, man.
I mean, it's definitely a thing where it kind of is a, well, I don't want to say like selfish, but it's more of like a, you know what, I'm going to take this time for me. And I just, go out there, and there's something, it's one of the things I love about this game is that, as much as you can be in the mix of it, and you can be taking part in a community goal, a combat heavy community goal, or, blasting pirates in a Haz-Res, or, CQC, all the combat stuff, all the high intensity stuff. This game also allows you to kind of just like really sit back, and you're just like, I'm going to go look at the universe and just see what there is out there. And sometimes you find really cool stuff, and sometimes just a bunch of freaking high metal content planets that you're scanning and everything. But it's really relaxing. It's very like, this is a game for me anyway, where I go out and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to chill for a couple hours. I'm going to listen to some music, and I'm going to go, we're going to do some jumps and scan some planets. And it's it doesn't feel like time wasted, where in a lot of other games, you don't make a lot of progress, or you just spend your time just kind of toiling around. You don't feel like you really did anything with the time. But, even when I'm just jumping from place to place and scanning planets, I definitely feel like my time wasn't wasted. So something that I wanted to ask you about, though, that you brought up that I was not aware of, because as much as, and I think you guys kind of get the short shrift, because the fuel rats get a lot of publicity, but no one ever talks about the hull seals. And in fact, the only reason I know about the hull seals is because of the Flight Assist podcast, because one of their questions is, you're low on hull, do you self-destruct, keep going, or call it the hull seals? And most people say call it the hull seals. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to check this whole thing out. But I didn't know about the whole like walrus thing, like how there's like a whole subsection of y'all that are basically there to to do like security for not just hull seals, but for fuel rats as well. And I thought that was really cool, but also kind of made me sad in a way, because I was like, are there really people out there looking to gank a fuel rat or a hull seal? Like who wakes up in the morning and is like, oh man, this guy that's just volunteering his time, totally gonna go blow up his ship? Like that just blows my mind to think about that,
Yeah, I mean, actually, a little side note here. While I was on call with you, and while I was about halfway out, we lost a fuel rat to a ganker.
And that is terrible.
Yeah.
Who does that to their fellow man out in space?
Yeah, it's a risk we all run, and us walruses, we're not supposed to do PvP, but I would gladly be a bullet sponge while the client and the the seal run away. My primary job as a whole seal walrus is to protect the client and the seal who is repairing from NPC pirates, because some of them can get very nasty, especially if you're low on hull.
Yeah.
Or you have no shields or whatever, and an elite type 10 jumps in, or an elite conda. That's the big one that we get, is elite condas. If they jump in, they can do some serious damage. So on certain calls, we'll call out a walrus. And there's other subsections of the hull seals too, like chem seals. Those are the guys that deploy to you if you got messed up by a Thargoid and can't burn it off, or what have you.
Interesting.
We got otters, which are the guys who are trained as both hull seals and fuel rats, so they can handle both. Yeah, it's a huge organization, but like you said, we don't get much publicity. It's hard to explain. I guess it's just because we're newer than the fuel rats, and the fuel rats have had time to build up their cases and build up their community.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said about the longevity of an organization, especially in a game as long in the tooth as Elite. But I still think what you guys provide is a valuable service, because like, as much as I don't have to dedicate myself to not going to a station, it's still, something that I'm trying to achieve on this trip. And so you guys being out there enables me to still, to still achieve that, to still be able to say, I'm going to go on this trip. I'm not going to stop at any stations. I'm going to, scoop all my own fuel and X, Y, and Z. And, it allows me to keep up that role play aspect of it, where it's like, no, I'm out here, I'm on my own. Like, if I got to call for help, I'll call for help, but I'm not going to stop at a station. Cause it's like, well, I don't really have a good analogy for it, but in the grand scheme, it helps a lot of people out. But also there are a lot of people that are like new to the game that don't understand a lot of the mechanics. And a lot of times hull seals and fuel rats can help them out with a lot of that stuff, and like what you guys do, just as and again, I emphasize this, a volunteer service. Like there's no checks being cashed. Like there's no one getting any type of kickback from this. Y'all are doing this of your own volition, and you guys are helping players out all over the place. Like it truly is a testament to just how great a community this game can foster when it's like, no, I just want to help people out. And, people volunteer for it in the dozens.
I think that's another important thing to point out here is all these guys are complete volunteers. We never take payment, and we're always just looking for a new way to help somebody. And you spoke about getting a lot of cases. The fuel rats, oh my God, they had 506 cases in 24 hours during the free weekend for Epic. Yeah, we were pretty slammed too, and just being able to work side by side with the rats and other seals, it's given me this sense of almost camaraderie among my friends here, because sometimes we'll deploy with 2 seals and a dispatcher, 3 seals. I mean, heck, we even had 24 seals on one case for a guy who had his canopy breached. They were all mining for him as we went along, and then we had a seal up front guiding him since he couldn't see the yellow line of the star. He didn't want him vaporizing himself on the star, Mm-hmm. So, I think it's something that ever since I came back from basic, I've been missing is the camaraderie, and it's something that you really get with the whole seals and the fuel rats because you're out there. It kind of feels like the elements are against you and you're in a race against time, really, because some of these guys have an hour left of synthesizing materials and of life support before they explode. So you feel like you're being pressed for time, but at the same time you're doing the right thing. You're out there helping people. You're selflessly serving your community, basically your game.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that's one of the things that very few games and very few gaming communities achieve is being able to spur the average player on to be like, no, I want to help people. Like, I want to help people in this game because if I help them out, then they'll enjoy the game more and they'll play the game more. And the more people that are playing the game, the better it is for everybody. And it also, well, it definitely says a lot about how pliable the game is when a group like the Hull Seals or the Fuel Rats can come about, where it's like, okay, there are 2 major things that people need to worry about if they're just kind of stuck out in the middle of space, which is running out of fuel and being so low on hull that the idea of, of skimming space debris, makes your butt cheeks pucker. But but then there's just a group of people that are like, well, we can alleviate that. We can help people not explode out in the black if they, if they're just having a hard time. And it's really cool that those kinds of organizations can just what's the word? Organically appear. You know what I mean? Because when I first heard about the fuel rats, I thought it was an in-game thing. I thought it was a bunch of NPCs that you just called if you needed some help. But when I found out that it was players, I was like, wait, what? And you start looking into it, and it's really cool. And then I found out about the Hull Seals, and I was like, oh my God, it's another group of people that are just like, well, some folks need help, and every once in a while you just need a tow truck. So we'll come out there and be your tow truck.
That's kind of our motto. Our motto is ut fac novum, which is to make new. And that's what we do, man. We I think our longest call so far has been 57,000 light years.
Gracious.
Yeah, that was something else. That seal took a while to get out there. I won't lie to you. He took a while.
I was gonna say that's like dedication to the craft right there. It's like, well, all right, I'm just gonna buckle in. I'm gonna microwave myself a hot pocket, and we're gonna get out here.
That was a lot of hot pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he just goes to show how dedicated some people are to helping other people in this game. And you hear about all these gankers, and it makes you think that everybody's toxic in the game, but it really seems to be almost like a very violent minority of people in this game are gankers. Most people are just trying to go about their day space trucking.
And honestly, I think when it comes, because I have a lot of friends in my squadron that they take part in what they like to consider organic PvP, and I look at it as they've gotten to a point where they're just trying to look for a new aspect of the game, and that's just kind of the avenue that they're going down. And I don't hold it against them, but there is something to be said about like just the malicious side of it. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing like role play, aspects of it and stuff. Okay, fine. Like you do your role play, you get what you get out of it and stuff. But like if you're going after a whole seal, like what are they carrying that you want? Limpets? Like, come on, doesn't make any sense. That's just it like that just seems like malicious. And those are the ones where I'm like, I just kind of scratch my head, But I mean, there's definitely two sides to that coin, but that's another conversation for another time. But regardless, though, what I do want to hit you with now, though, Two-Tone, is what brought you into Elite? Like, when did you start playing Elite, and what got you into the game?
Oh shoot! Oh, it's been so long. Originally, I was looking. I just gotten done with a Stellaris run. I was like, hey, it'd be really cool if I had, like a first-person perspective of me absolutely annihilating everything in the galaxy. And then I started looking up space simulators, and I started getting into like Dig That and Yamix, and stuff like that. Where I started checking out this game, I was like, wow, this game is really cool, and they got bobbleheads. And so I
sold. You had me at bobbleheads.
You had me at bobbleheads. And then I laid eyes on Federal Corvette for the first time. I was like, I need that. So I got the game. And originally I started out, I had no idea what I was doing. And I think another reason why I joined the SEALs is because I actually I had to call in a rat about my first time coming out of the station, because I had no idea what stations look like on the contacts panel. I had no idea what anything meant. I just freshly gotten off the landing tutorial. I was like, oh, I can take off and land. That's good enough for me, Chief.
Yeah.
So
let's rock and roll.
So I send it, and I ended up having to call a rat, and just like you, they were very quick on it. They were like, hey, we got a guy in a Jumpaconda coming out to refuel you. Just stay there, and power down your entire ship. And not that a sidewinder could do anything against a Conda, but the point still stands.
I don't know, man.
You just never know.
There's some builds out there. Like you could definitely. There's a famous build that was it a sidewinder designed to take out a Federal Corvette. So there's definitely
that's terrifying.
Yeah, there's what was it? I can't remember the guy's name. Sailor Soldier. Yeah, Commander Soldier Sailor, I think it is. I can't remember the name exactly, but it's a build specifically designed for a sidewinder to take on an Anaconda 1v1. And like it's like a 70% chance if the pilot has any type of skill that they can take out the Corvette. So it's definitely, it's definitely doable.
That's terrifying. But I don't know the full story on some of these gankings that happen, but I know some of them, the people call up and be like, hey, I need a repair, and then they just ambush. And for me, it's kind of dishonorable. Like you're fighting an opponent who, one, is there to help you, and two, trusts you enough to not slaughter them under trust.
Yeah, and also like 9 times out of 10 is probably completely unarmed.
Yeah, and in my case, obviously being a walrus, it's a little different. I'm definitely the opposite of unarmed. My ship is kind of the walking Second Amendment, but 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 for most SEALs, their ships are pretty much just exploration ships with Olympic controller on them, and the same thing with rats. Most of them are pretty much just exploration ships, and that I don't know, just doing something like that, it blows my mind how anybody could ever do that. Like we trust you enough to not attack us when we jump in to help you.
Yeah, to
know what I mean?
Yeah, to just go on, like, hey, I'm trying to help you get to where you're going. I totally get it, but it also explains why the walruses exist.
Yeah, and like I said, we're not really supposed to do PvP at all. I mean, like I said, I'll happily be a bullet sponge and be a target until the client and the SEAL can escape. But it's a rough situation when that happens, man. There's nothing you can do really, because most of the time you jump in and it's a shielded cutter, and you're like,
well, here we are.
well, here we go.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so
it's rough.
So on the vein of like what brought you to Elite though, so you've been playing Elite for a while then, right?
Yeah. Almost 2 years now.
Okay.
And it took me 240 hours to get the Federal Corvette.
Oh god,
that was bad.
It took me a lot longer than that, man. I just kind of sat down one weekend and I was like, I'm gonna do this grind and I'm gonna unlock this vet, and then 2 days of just going back and forth and doing all that, I was like, all right, I have it now. Now I need to make it the best ship I can make it, and my vet's all right, but it's I'm definitely am. I know why you have the appeal. It's a very cool ship when it comes to like how it's set up and just the way it looks. A lot of people like to go with the cutter and the clipper because of the sexy lines and stuff like that, and I get it, but oh man, there's something about the vet when like you just pull up to a has-res and you're like, all right, deploy the guns, and then the two huge hard points come out the top and you're like, all right, and now we dance. And yeah, just going through that, I definitely understand the appeal, trust me.
Yeah, and I mean, for a while I took a break because you get too far into this game and you burn yourself out on it, especially if you're grinding, because I don't know if I don't know when this mining update or this combat update is going to hit, but before this update, it was brutal to make cash, man. It was brutal, especially if you weren't, especially because almost all the cash is RNG. You just got to get RNG for a good mission, or RNG for good ships to jump in if you're bounty hunting, or RNG for mining. It's hit and miss on if you even make a good profit some days, and I totally understand why people go mining or whatever. I decided to go the least profitable route possible and became a wholesale.
Yeah,
but
hey, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're enjoying your time with the game. That's all really matters.
Absolutely. I love helping people.
Yeah, and trust me, I definitely understand that whole like almost hit and burnout thing. That definitely happened to me. Actually, like fairly recently, which is why I'm glad the holidays came around. Spending time with my family, being away from the game for a little while, I was like, all right, cool. Now I can hop back in and feel fresh, and so that was really good.
Yeah, and it's one of those games that you can drop for a little while, come back, pick right up where you left off, and be on your way. You don't miss much in this game, but you really do miss the game after a while, though.
Yeah,
you really do.
Yeah, nothing quite scratches the itch the same way.
No, absolutely not. The game feels so alive, and it's a great game.
Yep.
and that's another thing that kept me here once I started. At how beautiful the game looked, some of the stuff that people found, the murder dandelions,
Yeah.
you, you know, the Thargoids ripping you out of hyperspace. That was the first time that happened. I screamed the whole way in, but
What is happening?
ah!
Yeah. But okay, so another question for you. I guess I don't need to ask you what your favorite ship is because it's obviously the Federal Corvette. But if you had to pick a thing about Elite that, aside from being a whole seal, but a thing that keeps you coming back, keeps you coming into the game, like what is that, like that one thing?
I think it's just how beautiful the game looks. Like, no matter what you're doing, the game will look gorgeous 24/7. No matter what you're doing, you could be facing a wall like I am right now in my fleet carrier, and which I just jumped into. By the way, I just wanted to point that out. Even though she has no fuel, I just needed to repair. I ran into a star. Thanks a lot, Braven. But even just staring at the wall, the game looks gorgeous, and the entire game, the sound design. Oh my God, when you get ripped out of hyperspace by a very angry dandelion, I mean the Thargoids and the sounds of the game, your canopy icing up, the crackling, it's beautiful. This game is gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It was one of the things that, for a game as, relatively old as it is, I, even myself, when I first started playing, I was like, wow, this game looks so damn good. Like, I was really taken aback by it. So I can definitely agree with you there that this game has a lot of eye candy going on, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I think that really helps me get into the game. I don't know if you get what I mean, but like it really helps me feel like I'm a part of the game. I'm an actual commander here, and that helps me keep coming back because there's a galaxy that needs saving and or pirates need removing. But
yeah, either or, depends on what I got going on that day.
Yeah,
but yeah. But with that, man, I don't really have a whole lot more in the way of questions for you. I really wanted to have you on because I wanted to get your perspective on being a whole seal, and I really appreciate you coming out to help me out in my time of need. And yeah, this has just been a really great conversation, and I appreciate your time. And yeah, I wish you many more successful missions, and yeah, just fly safe, man.
Hey man, thanks. That's what we're here for. And if you guys ever need the whole seals again, don't hesitate to jump on the line with us. We're standing by. That's what we're here for.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you much, Commander TwoToneGray, and we're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get more into some good old Algorab AM. All right, man, I tell you, I had a really good time with this interview. A little different than the typical fare that we've done here on Algorab AM, but man, just a really cool experience, and really cool to talk to someone that is so invested and passionate in something that really is just, a volunteer service. I cannot thank you enough, TwoToneGray, for coming out there to rescue my butt, but also to lend me the time to sit down with you and talk and, have an amazing interview. So I just wanted to say thanks, and man, what a great episode. And with that, I think we are going to bring this episode of Algorab AM to a close. Now, I do want to let all you commanders out there know that we have one more episode until the end of season 1, because we're going into the holidays. It's December now, and we're going to be spending Christmas and all the awesome holiday times with our families, and some people are going to be traveling, hopefully safely and smartly, with everything going on this year in 2020. And yeah, it's just a good time for us to take a break and to relax, recharge the batteries, and hopefully come back in 2021 fresh as a daisy. So like I said, one last episode for this year, which will be very soon. And yeah, So with that, I want to say thank you very much for listening. Remember, you can find Algorab AM in all the places that you get your podcasts, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Podcasts, Spotify, all those places you can check us out. And make sure you check out Sidewinder Syndicate on Inara. We also have a Discord server. Links to all that will be in the show notes. And I want to say thank you to all of my friends and squadron mates in Sidewinder Syndicate, and most importantly, to my team here in the Sidewinder Syndicate Media Division. I could not make the show without you guys, and I thank you so much for helping me to make Algoram AM the super cool show that it is. All right, that's going to do it for this week, Commanders. Remember, stay safe out there, fly dangerous. 07 out.